Okay, just a little CNC work for a change. So right here you can see my setup sheets. So when I do the program on the computer, I always like to print a setup sheet telling which tools I need and how to set up the stock in the machine and where to zero it. So here I have all the operations. All the operations and all the tools, and I have checked all the operations and all the tools. I always like to recheck the tool heights. And right here I'm using the Coromil 390, which is a two-flute, I mean a two-insert kind of face mill and mill. And I'm only taking very shallow cuts with it, because this is a very bad tool when talking about stability. It really likes to chatter, but I have found that it is actually still better and cheaper to use for roughing the slot than an end mill, because these inserts last forever, even without coolant, and actually they last longer without coolant because of the thermal shocking. And after this operation, I'm gonna finish the slot with an 8mm long end mill, which can reach further down than this tool. Okay, it's gonna take quite a while for this operation to finish, so I don't think I'm gonna show you anymore. So, thanks for watching, and I hope you don't get as many Sunday rush jobs as I do. Okay, thanks for watching and see you again. Bye. Okay, decided to show you more anyways. So now I'm finishing the shape that I just roughed out with the Sandvik mill. And this is just a 4-flute 10mm standard end mill. And now I'm using coolant because this is a pretty accurate operation. So mainly just to keep chips away and also to keep the heat of the workpiece under control. I'm not sure if it's even necessary, but when the tool change happened, I actually like to have the coolant running for about a minute before starting the cut to cool down the workpiece. Okay, maybe I can show you the next operation as well. Okay, now roughing the bottom of the slot using an 8mm long end mill, which is a very worn one. I think I actually bought this at a flea market used, but I have used it quite a bit and it's still semi-sharp, but I don't care too much about it. Okay, until the next operation. Okay, now the deepest part of the slot is finished. I mean, the roughing of the deepest part of the slot is finished, and it's now roughing the edges of the slots. And finishing is gonna be done with a 10mm 4-flute carbide ball end mill. And I had to switch on the coolant to clear chips. Actually, this end mill, again, it's a 8mm long end mill, but it's a reduced shank end mill, so the flutes are only like 10 or 12mm long, and then the shank is reduced a little bit, so you can actually go deep with the end mill, but the flutes are only short, which I think adds rigidity to the end mill. So what I was saying is that I actually took accidentally a 5mm cut with full about 10mm depth of cut with this end mill, and the feed was set so that it was actually supposed to take, I think, like a 1mm pass, so the feed was extremely high, and the step over was way too high by many times, and it actually took the cut with no issues at all. And this is the same end mill that I did that mistake with. So I think it's like 60 to 70% engagement of the tool diameter and a very high feed, and it still took the cut. So that's a pretty strong end mill, I think. Okay, next up is the ball end mill finishing. Now finishing the round slot with the ball end mill, and this is gonna take a while. It requires a pretty good finish on the slot. I think it's gonna take like 15 minutes. And this is not a very high quality end mill, so it's only supposed to run at, I think the cutting speed was about 120 meters per minute, which is only 4,800 RPM. So if I had a better end mill, I could run it twice as fast. But it would be twice as expensive as well. Okay. Again, had to switch on coolant for chip removal. Listen to the cut, it's now conventional milling. And now it's climbing. Can you hear the difference in the sound? That's why climb milling is... Again, can you hear it? That's why climb milling is so much better than conventional milling. Well, the sound is not why it's better. It's just one indication that it is better. Again, can you hear? It's a huge difference in sound. Okay. Okay, this is one of the great things about CNC machining. You can use carbide drills. And this is a 5mm carbide drill. And let's see how it cuts. Just in and out. And the feed is 800 millimeters per minute. Fast, in other words. And no chip braking, just in and out. And actually what's the very best thing about these drills is that the finish is an 8/7 tolerance finish. So basically you don't need a reamer when you use a carbide drill. I think that's pretty freaking awesome. And another thing that's awesome is this. Rigid tapping. So the machine synchronizes the spindle rotation to the Z-axis. So you can have the tap completely rigid in the tool holder. And actually I should have used a bottoming hole tap, of course, but I didn't have one, so I just had the holes a little bit deeper than needed. But looks like it still did some pretty funky things with the chips. And now I'm just putting a tiny chamfer on all the edges. A very slight chamfer. And we are almost ready to see what the finished product looks like. Okay, operation 1 finished. And I am quite satisfied about what I see. But what I like the most is the holes. So these are the holes that I drilled with the carbide drill. Actually it's this little guy right here. And that's maybe the best 15 euros I've ever spent. So they're not even expensive. And you can run them really fast, and the finish that they leave is just spectacular. So that the finished size is like 5mm plus 1/100 of a millimeter. So that's an 8/7 tolerance finish. And take a look also at the radius slot. I think that's also pretty beautiful. Okay, now I'm gonna flip this piece and mill the other side. So again, I'm running out of memory, but maybe I can still show you something. I'm getting ready for operation 2. I have the piece flipped around. It's sitting on a pair of parallels, and we should be all set to go. Okay, facing first, and running really slow with a fast feed because the mill scale is very abrasive and it really likes to wear down my tool. And also it's removing only a very little amount. Actually, I'm not perfectly sure if it's even gonna clear the whole surface, but that doesn't matter. Looks like it is gonna clean it completely. And also only climb milling, trying to save the tool. Okay, it did actually clean. That's good. And now time for some roughing action. So this is the Coromil 300, and it also does a very good job as a fast metal remover. Let's see, I think there's a little flaw in the program. Yeah, for some reason it's cutting air for a while here. Actually, I couldn't figure out why it does that. I knew it would do that, but I spent some time trying to figure out why it happens, and I just couldn't figure out it. So I'm just gonna let it cut air for a minute and then it's continuing. Okay, now it's cutting again. That's a pretty nice roughing pass, if you ask me. You can hear the chips hitting the wall, which is always nice. This Coromil is really good for high feed, low depth of cut milling. Exactly what I'm doing here. It's a really nice cutter. Okay. And now finishing the sides. Okay, the coolant was not supposed to come on, but since it came on, let's keep it on. Can't see anything. Okay. very final operation. I think you might find this interesting. And there is a 1 degree angle on this face right here. And I'm using an end mill to mill that out. Using a series of cuts parallel with each other. And this is the very final operation. I'm gonna finish this and then I'm gonna show you what the finished product looks like. Okay, the finished product. It's so shiny, can you see anything? Okay, now you can see something. So the ends are still saw cut. That's just fine. I also already deburred all the edges. I think it's pretty good. And again, the fit on these, let's try it with the dowel pin. No rocking at all. Awesome. And also look at the threads. How beautiful and shiny. I'm really happy with this part. Okay. So, in other words, CNC milling can also be very thrilling and fun. Okay. Thanks for watching and see you again. Bye.